This podcast is brought to you by Hoare Chartered Accountants. Hoare Chartered Accountants are based in Galway City and are a leading provider of audit, accountancy and taxation services. For more information, visit hoarecharteredaccountants.ie. Now we're continuing our build up to the Senior Football Championship, and I'm joined by former Salthill-Knocknacarra footballer Alan Kerins. Alan, obviously a lot of build-up and excitement in Salthill-Knocknacarra ahead of the county final. Does it bring back memories for you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, some great days. We won in 2005 and then in 2012. Yeah, they were great days. And obviously 2005 went on to win the All-Ireland after that. So that journey was great into the Connacht Championship and then over to London for the quarter-final and then Kilmacud Crokes and St. Gall in the semi and Galls in the final, St. Galls. But and then I think it was Tuam we beat in 2012. Unfortunately, it was Bridges knocked us out, and they were down to win the All Ireland that year in the Connacht. But great nights and great days in Salthill. And anytime you win any county final, it's special. Or even the build up and the excitement around Salthill and the schools and in the community. It's a special time for any club.
Um, just first off, I suppose, how did it come about that you ended up playing with Salthill-Knocknacarra?
Yeah, I suppose I went to college in Trinity College. I was in UL for a year first, and then I transferred up to Trinity. And I was playing hurling at the time. I was playing a lot of soccer at the time with Galway Town, and there was interest from United and stuff like that. But it was too far to come down, and the hurling wasn't great in Trinity in terms of the standard of training I don't know if we were even playing at Fitzgibbon level at the time. And so I was playing away and I was living with two Cavan guys who were both on the Cavan under 21 and minor squads. And they were saying they had a really good setup and that they had a good squad and that the training was good. And why don't you? And I was living with them anyway and they were going training. So why don't you just join them for training and to keep fit over the winter, basically. And I went out and I enjoyed it, and they stuck me in cornerback, and I made the Sigerson team. And so then I started enjoying it. I really liked it, and I enjoyed the game. And then I went home and I looked for a club. And I went to a few clubs, and Salthill were the ones that showed most interest, basically. And they were very keen to take me on or welcome me in. Others weren't as I suppose, friendly or as open to the idea. So, yeah, in fairness, all till were welcoming with open arms, and yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, you obviously would have played hurling with Clarenbridge, but going in playing with Salthill-Knocknacarra, you enjoyed it and they really welcomed you in.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was great, and lifelong friends from it now, and my wife's from Salt Hill, and yeah, the club have been brilliant, and my in-laws are from Salt Hill. Finney is my brother-in-law, and he's manager on Sunday. So, it was a real great move for me in terms of both sporting and personal, And so from my best friends are around those all till teams that are my closest buddies. And yeah, look, we won two county titles and we won one club at Ireland, and they're very good to me. And yeah, they're just brilliant to me. In fairness.
Um, i- just I suppose you mentioned there two county titles, and obviously when you play with Salthill-Knocknacarra, there's a lot of expectation with the club. Did you feel a pressure playing with them?
No, no, not really. No, no. Sometimes you feel because I was playing the four, I was on, I suppose, Clarenbridge and Galway hurlers, and then Salthill, and um, the Galway footballers when I was doing the four teams for that period, 2001, 2005. Often, I wouldn't be there that much, and it was that was the toughest part in terms of probably you felt you weren't giving them everything, or you couldn't give them everything, and you're often missing a bit of championship matches because you're playing with Galway, and Galway didn't want you to play, the hurlers didn't want you to play with the club football championship, or even Clarenbridge sometimes didn't want you to play club football championship. That was a bit of that was the probably more caught up in that pressure than anything else. and maybe the guilt of not being there as often as he should be, or as often as he could be, or physically was physically possible. So maybe there's a pressure on that extent that when you were there, you felt you had to reward them, and you had to, add huge value and huge impact wherever you could. But no, never really. I didn't even, looking back, I suppose I didn't think of it as pressure. I was just so busy, I hadn't time to think about it. With Africa and with the sport and with working, I just didn't have time to think, to be honest with you. And when you're young, you don't think about those things anyway. You're just going from game to game and match to match, and I suppose it was probably a good thing. I didn't have time to think about it.
Yeah, it must have been tough in one sense, was it, when you're even balancing all those teams at the time as well?
Yeah, it was very tough, and obviously, looking back at it now, that it was great, but it was tough, and mentally more than anything, trying to please four managers and trying to please four teams, and particularly four squads probably. And obviously, there's going to be lads in those squads who didn't want you there because you were only there a portion of the time, and then you were starting, and that can create a bit of tension, or a bit of negativity, I suppose, and that can be difficult as well. But that was only on the rare occasion. All in all, it was great, and it was we were successful, and we won with great success in that time, and that was it was there were magic days really when you look back at it now. You'd love to be back there again.
The the Club All Ireland, I suppose, even after you won the one with Galway in 01, to win a Club All Ireland then with Salthill 4 years later, that must have been very special, was it?
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. We'd lost the county final 2004 to Killearn, and Owen O'Donnell was our manager. He was a great manager, Mark Butler, and John Joe Hallam. We had a great setup, and they managed it brilliantly. And because we had a number of players playing other sports as well, and everything came together in 2005, where I suppose we were gone out, the hurling, Clarenbridge was gone. Then yeah, the soccer guys were back. So obviously Michael Donlan had joined us at that stage as well, and we had an unbelievable squad. Michael brought us to a whole new level of standards and expectations of each other and of ourselves. And same with Owen O'Donnell and the management team; they were excellent. And we're just a great bunch, and we had a great atmosphere, and we had a great spirit, and we had a great sense of camaraderie. And we went down that amazing journey, and it was really, really special. It's hard to believe it was 20 years ago now since we won that county title, and we're starting the journey into the kind of championship. So it was a special team. Now it was, and probably should have won more that team. Um, but as I said, it was there's a lot of different lads from rugby and sport, hurling and soccer, and we all just came, and it was a perfect storm in terms of everyone's availability, and everyone, and the management, and the group of players we had. Yeah, it was magic.
What was the standout moment or the turning point in that season, do you feel?
I think we bet Caltra in one of the games. It was a late goal, or maybe it was Corofin. One of those games that we were gone. I think we came back with a late goal. Obviously, won the county title then as well, because that gave us a bit sense of freedom. We played great stuff once we got out of there. Like Carnacashel nearly got us in the final. It was tight enough near the end. And winning that county title, I suppose it was only our second one. They hadn't won one since 1990, and uh, yeah, and there was look at John Boylan's goal in the semi-final against. There's a lot of stand-up moments. Kieran MacDonald hit the crossbar with a penalty against Crossmaglen in the Connacht Championship. John Boylan's goal, Armstrong's performance against Kilmacud in the semi-final. Um, yeah, I suppose getting over one of that late goal against Caltra, I think it was, and then getting over the that final hurdle against Carrick-Cash was brilliant, and that gave us. I think we freed up a lot then to go into the Connacht Championship with nothing to lose, and into the All Ireland series, and you know. Even when we talked to London, now we got lucky in London as well. Tyrconnell Gales could have nicked us if they had a free taker. Maybe a little bit of complacency and a little bit of, but that was a fair battle in London. I think we one or two guys sent off and one or two injuries in that match against Tyrconnell Gales. So you need your luck along the way as well. You definitely need your bit of luck. But yeah, there's a lot of standout moments.
I think that All Ireland final is probably remembered as one of the coldest days of the year when you did play that game too.
Yeah, I don't remember it because I got knocked out.
Oh yeah.
First 15 minutes I was gone. So I don't recall the game at all. I only came around coming down the train. But I do remember prior to that, Jet, everyone saying it was Baltic. And it probably wasn't the greatest of the game. 7-6, I think, was the score in the end. So it was a fairly boring game and low scoring game, but I have no recollection of that match. Still really haven't watched it back. But yeah, no, I got a very bad concussion and yeah, I didn't feature at all after that.
That difficult in one sense to sort of come to terms with not remembering a final like that.
It probably is because you looked like compared to the Clare Bridge final where, I contributed an awful lot more and had a good day and really could enjoy that and savor that, definitely. Because it's rare you win in Croke Park and it's rare you win a Club at Ireland and not to remember it is probably a disappointment. But I remember the celebrations and that's okay too, with a great night and a great week. And when you win, I suppose it makes it easier too. But as long as you win, it doesn't make a difference. But it would have been nice, definitely, to play a bigger part and to remember it. Because I suppose when I contrast, as I said, that to the Bridge final, where you could, where you're front and center and you remember every little bit of it, and you can get to savor those rare moments in Croke Park that you do win a Club All Ireland or any All Ireland for that matter.
7 years later, you get back on top then and go winning the Frank Fox.
Yeah.
Uh, Jim Stairs beat Curve in the semi-final, and they're heavy favourites probably going into the final, and you turn them over then in the final.
We had a good team that year. A little bit older team. I think I was 35 at the time, and a lot of the some of the a good chunk of the 2005 team were there. Um, yeah, no, we did well. We did well. We had Jerry Hughes as the manager as well, and the two Bagleys, and it was just that kind of sense of that togetherness. Any team that wins have a great sense of togetherness, and Jerry and the guys really brought that togetherness with us. And we hadn't won one in 7 years as well, and we felt we probably had underachieved a little bit in terms of winning county titles. All the great Corofin teams were there and all that, and Killerairns. But we were very confident with that final, really. I think once Corofin were gone, we felt we had a massive chance against Tuam because they hadn't been there in a while and they hadn't won one in a while either. So, and we had the experience of 2005 and 2006 All-Ireland series. So, yeah, I think we were a very workmanlike team and a very workmanlike performance that day. And yeah, it was lovely to add a second title, to the first one we'd won. And again, Salthill only Salthill. That is still only Salthill's third ever, I think, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's two. That's not a great return for the size and strength and of the club that we have. And hopefully that'll change on Saturday.
Even thinking back to that game against Tuam, 12-7, it was a
Mm.
difficult day for football. Rain obviously playing a factor. Sean Armstrong was obviously huge that day. He's in the management team now, and we kicked 7 points.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he had a great game that day, and it was a desperate day, yeah. And I was playing sweeper, kind of. I was a sweeper. I was named corner forward, but I was back in the playing as a third man, sweeping role. So it was a dog eat dog role, it was a workman-like performance, and you had to dog it out. And I suppose it was closer than the scoreline predicted. I remember at one stage we won a free in the second half, I think, that was tight, and that gave us a bit of momentum. And Sean was great from the frees that day and from play, and but everyone just dogged it out. It was a wet day, it was a bit of a wind, and I think it was a slippery, slidey day. It wasn't a great day for football, but it was I think Saltill wouldn't be known for a bit for steel or for that workmanlike, but we really dogged out that day, and we're really proud of that actually in terms of how we worked that performance and just outworked Tuam.
Obviously, actually, no one from that team playing anymore now for Salthill, but obviously Finian, manager, and Sean Armstrong in the backroom team. Gary Cox was previously in the backroom team too when you look from that 2012 team. But Alan, just a word on your former manager, John O'Mahony. He was obviously in charge of them 3 years ago, and you could even get the sense from listening to Finian and Tomo this week that he's definitely still in their thoughts.
Yeah, and look, there's no more than Maigh Cuilinn with John Callan. It's hard to believe that the two managers and when they met last in 22 final. are no longer with us, and condolences and sympathies to all their families. And obviously, I would have known Jano quite very well in terms of he gave me my shot in football really when he brought me out of nowhere into the football panel in 2001. And Jano left a huge imprint anywhere he went, and he left a huge legacy in my life. And I'd be forever grateful for what he did for me. He was just a lovely man that really cared about you as a footballer, but also as a player, as a human being. And I think you can get that sense from the lads this week that they'll be trying to do it for him definitely, no more than Maigh Cuilinn trying to do it for Don, which is a tragic passing during the summer. So young, so both sides, I suppose, have a lot of emotion coming into and a lot of purpose and a why to win it. I suppose whoever manages that the best will probably come out on top. But yeah, John O'Mahony left a massive imprint. The players loved him in Salthill and Finian. I suppose he had a huge impact on Finian as well and Sean in terms of molding them into the managers and the coaches that they are today. And it was his wish that Finian and Sean would continue and take over from Jano, when he stepped back. And I think the boys feel probably a sense of duty to carry on his legacy and carry on his ethos as a manager, and as a backroom team.
In fairness, he did a terrific job, didn't he? Like in getting all these Salthill-Knocknacarra club men, bringing them in with him, and then getting them to take it over.
Yeah, he did, yeah. And Jano is very influential and persuasive, and it's very hard to say no to Jano. And he comes with such credibility, and he's such a genuine man, you see. He's just such a genuine man and such a sound fella, and he just looks after people very well, and he treats people very well, and he carries huge credibility, huge respect from everybody in the game and the wider community. And it was very hard to say no to Jano.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not the first person to say that either. And you obviously have a vested interest this weekend, Finian, being your brother-in-law, taking over Salthill, Knocknacarra, into his second year now. What do you think he's bringing to the table?
I when you're Finian as a player, he was just unbelievably committed, unbelievably disciplined, unbelievably professional, hard as nails, great work ethic, great attitude, honesty, and a bit of integrity. And I think that's what he's bringing. Just the player, he's a player's man. Everyone knows Finian. He's a very likable fella, and he gets on with everybody. But there's a heart, there's a steeliness to him as well. I think that's what all Till need in terms of that honesty of effort and honesty of work rate and honesty of commitment and just that bit of steeliness and that bit of tough mentality in terms of just go for it. And obviously he's very professional as well, and he brings a great back team. And James Mannion, I believe, is a great coach as well. And you have Norman there as well, and Connor Flynn, another brother-in-law, and Sean. They have a great backroom team there that get on very well together, and they all bring different attributes. But it's obviously it was working very well for them, you know what I mean, in terms of, and they have a good squad as well, which is great with the six county players. But in terms of Finian, yeah, look, Finian was a brilliant player. He was a unbelievable full back, massive work rate, massive steel, great integrity, great honesty, and great attitude. And I'm sure he's trying to impart every bit of that onto the squad, and to create that winning mindset and that winning culture, I suppose. And you know, to create that, I'm sure they put a huge effort into trying to create that bond, that camaraderie, and that kind of community feeling, community spirit. And I've seen them having club breakfasts and community breakfasts, and the schools are getting involved. And Finn be a great family and a great community man. So I'm sure he's trying to build that sense of community that sometimes maybe that maybe is harder to garner in a city rather than in a rural parish.
It, looking at Sawtill then this year, like obviously it's been well documented about their county players and everything. They got wins then in the group over Montpellier, Uachtar, um, and Michael's in the group, and then finished strongly against James's. The game against Curvin then in the semi-final was fairly nuts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I suppose they've been cruising fairly well, I suppose, up until the second half of the last few minutes of the quarterfinal match. But when they're in full flow, they're a joy to watch, obviously, and they play an exciting brand of football. And on the counter, they can transition so quickly, and they have great firepower up front with with Tamo and Rob Finnerty and obviously Matthew Thompson. Then you have Charlie Power and Rob Walzer, and so that it's not just the county players. They have some great other forwards that are and Mark Mannion and those guys. So they have a great squad, like, and obviously they'll obviously focus on this week the first half in terms of trying to bring a lot more of that and bring that for the full 70 minutes and maybe identify, try and see what went wrong. Obviously, Corofin are a great team too, so they're always going to have their purple patch. But in fairness to Salthill, they dug it out in those last 2 minutes as well, and Rob came out and could kind of control the game, and we got, we eventually got the 2 point win. And obviously, Donald O'Sullivan's a great addition too, the former Limerick goalkeeper. He's a massive addition, made a great save. If that went in, that'd have been a gut wrenching for them, obviously, but thanks be to God it didn't. Um, yeah, but they're going well. Like they're going well. They're playing a great brand of football, and obviously the scar tissue of the hammering they got last year over Corofin showed a bit of resilience from them as well to bounce back from that. And also, I think they need to look at the positives there in terms of they still won it, and they still dug it out at the end when it's all Corofin were a point back, and they got that kind of 2 point up, and they dug it out. So you got to take heart from that. You got to take positives from that, and you got to look at, the first half was awesome, awesome display, obviously, in terms of, especially against this. I know Salthill maybe, or Corofin were maybe slightly off, and so, but Corofin, but Salthill were on fire in that first half, and how can they bring that to the full 70 minutes is I'm sure is what they're focusing on.
You mentioned the county players there. Rob, obviously, Daniel O'Flaherty, Carl Sweeney, Matthew Thompson, Tomo. Like it's such quality to have all on the one club team, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're all like three of them are probably only the only three goal players nominated for All Stars this year, and Matthew was nominated for Young Player of the Year. So that shows the quality there. That's All Star. They're all All Star material. Maher and Finnerty are two All Stars as well, and sure Sweeney and Daniel Flower, they're supreme athletes. And who else am I missing? Tambo as well, to go out of finisher, and he only came on the last day. You know what I mean? So what a player to bring on as well. If he doesn't start, I'm not sure what the team will be, but and young Walzer did very well in the first half. Got his couple of points. So it's brilliant to have that six forwards, but they still have to perform. But Maigh Cuilinn had 6 or 7 too on the panel the last number of years, or even more. So they were equally as loaded with the three Kellys and Desi Keneally and Peter Cook and a few more, Niall Walsh, and so they're and the Offaly player, former Offaly player,
Johnny Maloney, yeah.
they're loaded as well. So it's people forget about that.
It is difficult for John Mayer, isn't it? I think everyone's
Yeah,
sort of disappointed as Galway supporters, given he's going to miss out on this game with the ankle injury.
yeah, it looks like he's going to miss out, and I suppose John is a spiritual leader of Salt. He's also a spiritual leader of Galway football team as well, the senior team. He's just that. You're always going to get a great performance from John. You're always going to get 120% from him. You're always going to get him winning the dirty ball. You're always going to get him competing. And he's just a brilliant attitude and a massive work rate. And obviously a great player as well. He can score, he can defend, he can field, he can do everything. And his energy is infectious as well. You know what I mean? And he sets the standard for the team really in terms of that work rate. And he sets the tempo. So he'll be a huge loss. And then with the opposite, then with Peter Cook coming in for Maigh Cuilinn, he was obviously very good when he came on the last day against Hume. And so there's a kind of a double whammy there where Cook is coming in and John is going out. So Salty will have to deal with that, I suppose.
If you're even looking then at sort of Evan Wynn and Michael and Paddy Kitt, they're sort of all the players that have probably experienced the highs and the lows for Salthill-Knocknacarra over the last decade.
Yeah, I think the three of them were probably involved in 2012 or by the end of the panel or in and around the panel anyway, or knocking around the place. Evan could have been playing in that 2012 final. Um, Yeah, it was great to see them get their chance now, and we love it to see them win a medal because they are great club men and they have put in the years in senior football and underage obviously as well. And everyone was coming back from London there for a while, or Germany, or he was traveling for matches. Maybe he still is. Um, but yeah, and it's great to see them develop as players too, and really starting to add. Um, and be key players. And Michael Kitt's doing great work there in the middle of the field, in fairness to him, in terms of Gould's did a great partnership with John Maher. So obviously Michael has to step up now and whoever comes in for John to step up and kind of own that midfield because that's going to be vital.
Do you feel then, when you look at Salthill-Knocknacarra, only three county titles, Vinny was even referenced that he sort of believes the club has underachieved, and it is hard to believe when you look at it that there only is three county titles in Saltill's Roll of Honour when it comes to the Galway Senior Football Championship.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And even the team I was involved in, we probably should have won a couple of more, you know. And yeah, there's no denying. I think nobody will deny that, and nobody will argue at that point. You know, for the quality of players we've had, the quality of teams we've had, and the quality of, I suppose, the population we've had, and yeah, it is. It's disappointing, I suppose, to have just three. And just look at hopefully now that with the squad we have and the squad we have currently, that should change. If not Saturday, the next few weeks, the next few years, because they're quite a young squad. And yes, there are the older guys, but I think even all those county players are all quite young. You know what I mean? And there's more coming, obviously, in the underage and the minor setups. So hopefully, with the right guys in charge, like Finian and Sean and Army at the helm, and future maybe developments as well in terms of pitches. Um, I think hopefully that will change. Hopefully Saturday, and into the future.
There is something very special about this final when you look, all the players who probably went to school together, been on county squads together, they obviously know each other quite well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my calling is just out the road, really, isn't it? From Salthill, not that far away. Um, yeah, they're part of the shuttle. They know each other quite very well in terms of from the county squads, from underage squads, from schools. Um, and they're two great clubs, and there's two great teams there, and there's going to be nothing in it really. It's a hard one to call. I know Salthill are favourites, but John is a big loss, so it's a hard one to call. Um, and they're like obviously my Cullen are in the third final in a row now, or maybe more, than they've lost the last two, so they won't want that record of losing three in a row, and obviously give the Don um, the motivation there to do it in the memory of Don, who was their manager when they took over, overseen their great successes. Um, yeah, yeah, they all socialise together. Yeah, there's no sure the weather of many a battle as well over the last couple of years. So yeah, it's a great pairing. Yeah, it's great to see, great, and you know, a new. It's great to see. It's great to see two good teams in the final. You know, two. You know, they are in the top three. Those two teams with Corofin. So it's great to see. It's great to see that a final people can look forward to, even though it may not, with the weather now coming in, and you know, it may be a tight, cagey affair. Finals tend to be. I'm sure Mike Cullen won't want to let Salthill run with the ball or transition quickly with the turnover, so they might stop them at source. So it could be a pretty stop-start game, but who knows?
Do you get Sawtail jerseys now
Now we
on your kids for the weekend?
we see if they have Salthill jerseys, yeah. Even though they play football for Oran more now a little bit, so yeah, no, they will. They'll have the Salthill jerseys on them. Their granny got that for Christmas a number of years ago, so definitely they'll have the. If it still fits them, they will. Yeah, or they'll have the jerseys on definitely.
And how do you see this one unfolding at the weekend, Alan?
It's hard to know. It's just hard to know to predict these games. Who would have predicted Salthill would have gone, what, 14, 15 points ahead of Corofin and then who would have predicted Corofin would come back and could have nicked it with a late goal, you know? And even the Tuam, you know, the Tube, like my Cullen have overcome a tight semi-final, you know, which will stand to them, I would think. I know we overcame a tight one, although it was a different tightness in terms of the Corofin match. Um, I don't know. I think Salthill, if they probably have the they're a younger team, they're a fresher team. Um, they've been beaten by McCullen in 2022. Jano factor. There's five county guys. I know John is gone. They have a freshness about them. They have a youthfulness about them. They have an exuberance about them. If they can bring that, if they can bring their A game, I think Salthill will win. But McCullen also, you know, Peter Cook coming back and John Maher out, that could be a swing, a major swinging, a major point in the favour of Mike Cullen. And the fact that the last two county titles, they're in the last two, so they're a huge experience. They're an older team, they're a different stage in their journey. And, you know, they probably would really, really want to nick one before some of them move on. Um, Such this heart, it's going to be tight. It's going. My heart says Salthill, and my head says Salthill if they can, only if they can perform. But my Colin could dog it out. Um, but obviously we're just praying for us all to win, just praying.
There would be a sense of relief, wouldn't there, for
Oh,
Salthill-Knocknacarra to get over the line, 13 years and everything.
massive, massive. And if they win this, they could win a few. I think if they win this, they could win a few. Um, and they're probably the higher ceiling in terms of going on and the further in the championship, I'd imagine. If we can get Maher back. Um, I'll be massive release because it's been like 13 years is a long time for Salt Hill Club, and then having only three, and then the work they put in, and I suppose the building of a lot of work has gone in since John come in, and then the seamless transition over to Finian now as well. And a huge amount of work has been put in with the team, and the huge amount of underage and all the underage that's going on in the club at the moment, and the underage talent that's coming through. It'd be massive, especially with the six county boys now as well. It'd be massive if we could just get over the line and just, have a great night in the Prairie and in the Arse on Saturday night and elsewhere. Badly needed. It's badly needed. It's badly needed in terms of for the club and for the city in terms of a county championship as well.
Not that to be thinking of it, but like if you do win the county title at the weekend, I suppose the journey gets very exciting. Then you get to go into Connacht.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but I suppose you have to win Saturday first, though, and it does. Whoever gets there will have a great journey. I think you know what I mean. Whoever wins on Saturday will have a great journey in. I think Connacht's wide open as well. There's no standout team in Mayo really or Roscommon or so it's wide open for anyone to win that as this Cuilinn Strandhill approved last year. And obviously then it gets exciting because all the big dogs are gone as well all over the country in terms of well obviously the Ballyboard and still there, but a lot of the Slaughtneils and the traditional, I suppose, serial All Ireland contenders or provincial contenders are knocked out. But yeah, no, who knows? Once they get out of Galway, who knows? Who knows where you go? You may fall at the first hurdle, or you may go the distance. But that's all part. It's a brilliant journey to go on if you can get on it. Because the nights you have after all those wins in the Connacht and then the All Ireland series are just uh, the memories and the special nights and the special celebrations are just they're very rare.
Alan, just a quick word on Jason Flynn. He announced his
Yeah.
inter-county retirement. It just feels like the right time to bring it up, but incredible service he gave to the Galway cause.
Yeah, Jason, unbelievable ability, unbelievable talent. And obviously he's still doing it for Tommy Larkins as well. And they were very unlucky this year in the quarter final. Yeah, look at he had a great career. I just saw the stats there on his record, which was in terms of all the titles he'd won. He's got his All Ireland. He made a huge impact in the All Ireland final when he came on with Niall Burke. Um, yeah, added a lot to Galway hurling. What he was just such a beautiful stick man, and a beautiful striker and a great athlete and tall and fast and pacey and rangy, good hand, brilliant striker and a brilliant finisher when he got the chance. So yeah, I'd like to congratulate him on his wonderful career and wish him the very best in retirement. A
Yeah,
gentleman as well, a very nice fellow as well, a gentleman and a half off the pitch, gentleman.
yeah, just like Alan there, like to congratulate him on his inter-county career at Galway. Alan, you're heading off soon to the Planet Games. This time you're going to Uganda. I'm sure there's a lot of organising and everything ahead of this one now, which you're looking forward to heading off again.
Yeah, we're going on the 21st of November, yeah, until the 29th. So we're another group of 40 or so inter-county GA players and we've TG Carr and all that coming as well. Yeah, we're going to Uganda. We're 3 years done in Kenya. We've what do we this will be our fourth trip, and we're going to Uganda. And actually, it's my Maigh man there, John Walsh. He founded Simba Wolfhounds, and it's the first recognised GA club in Africa. And about 6,000 children playing Gaelic football. We're building a handball wall as we speak. We're opening it when we're there. Martin McCarron's another Maigh man. is driving that part of the World Handball Championship. He's traveling with us. So we're integrating a bit of handball into this trip as well. And some handballers are traveling with us. And it'll be a great trip because Kenya was a brilliant trip. But I suppose this will be special because there's actually a GA club here. We're going to be visiting, supporting, and training up coaches and uh, playing against the local teams and coaching the local kids who are actually an official GA club, which is wonderful to see. And the hope is that he'll grow a lot more from this trip in terms of 6,000 kids, 6 schools want to get 50,000 kids playing it over there, and 50 schools. So, yeah, the big plans for Simba Wolfhounds in Uganda and the other GA clubs as well. So it'll be wonderful to see. And it'll be wonderful for the Galway players. And we've a load of Galway people travelling. Actually, we've Shane Cooney from the hurlers, we've Anya Keane from the Camogie players, Conor Gleeson from the footballers, and we have five from the ladies football team. We've Kate Geraghty, the captain, Olivia Divley, um, Andrea Trill, Aoife O'Rourke, and Aoife Kelly. So it's amazing. And then we've Martin McCurrans, obviously the handballer. So we have a huge crew. Nearly, I suppose, a quarter of the travelling party is Galway. So it's a great representation, and I'd like to thank them for all their massive efforts over the last number of weeks and months for fundraising and all that. Yeah, the Planet Games have been a huge success. This will be our fourth trip. And we'll have 160 players, and we'll have travelled by the end of November to on the Plant to Planet Games. We'll have over 2 million euros raised from it, and we'll have 4 million. We'll have enough money raised to have started the planting of 4 million trees, which is, I suppose, an amazing legacy for all those players to be part of, and amazing difference that they're making. And they have an amazing trip as well themselves, and they learn an awful lot about themselves, and they get a whole new perspective on the world when we travel. Maybe they make massive friends and massive friendships and massive relationships as well. And so it's a great, it's a wonderful contribution, and I suppose they're wonderful role models on the pitch, but also now off the pitch. And when they go home in their own communities, they're always wonderful role models. So they're brilliant people that come on the trip. In fairness to them.
You've really seen the power of it, even with any intercounty players that have went over the last few years, and I've probably seen when they've come back, just how some people have documented and just seen what it's did for the kids and everything over there. But I imagine getting TG Carr involved as well has been excellent for this.
Yeah, they came the first year, which was the first historic trip, and now I suppose we're going to Uganda. It's a different angle with the GA clubs, and to document that wonderful story of the formation of these GA clubs and how it started, and it's a fascinating story. And John is Walsh, a Galway man, as well as central to that. So it'll be a great story in terms of for TG Carr to capture, as well as the players and that aspect of things. But yeah, it's great. The players are busy. The players have lives. The players are going back training. A lot of them would love to come, but they're going on team holidays, and the Kerry guys and the Chip guys, unfortunately, were involved. But then their team holidays come up now in November because it's split season, so it's even harder for us to get players to come. But the players who can come are chomping at the bit, and we're turning down people. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, no, it's been a huge success in terms of the impact, and for South Africa as well, and for Warriors for Humanity, and the work on the ground in terms of thousands of families now are living off these trees, food crops and cash crops. Lots of soil has been rehabilitated, loads of reforestation going on, and loads of trees to improve the quality of the soil content. Um, and lots of work on seed diversification and seed quality, and training and development of people to live off these trees. So every tree represents a livelihood, while it's also brilliant for the environment. So there's a lot of win-wins here. And then the players as well have a huge experience in terms of their own leadership, and we do a lot of work with them in terms of coaching and leadership during the year. So it really is a leadership program for them as well.
And you really have enjoyed this, I suppose, Alan, since you've set it up over the last few years.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great to get to know. It's great to when you go on these trips, you have to experience it. It's very hard to explain it to anybody, and the people who experience it share a special bond and share great friends and great friendships from it, and great relationships. And we've achieved something special together. And when you do something special with people, special bonds develop. No more than when you win an All Ireland or with the teams. You'll always have that special relationship. And the same with this, when you achieve something really. Uh, when you really, I suppose, what is perceived as difficult, to raise 10 grand for a young player can be. a difficult challenge or seem daunting, but and planting a million trees as a group can seem daunting, but it's when you achieve it, it's really meaningful.
Great stuff, Alan. Well, the very best of luck with the trip and everything, and thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Paul. No problem at all.
Now we're building up to the Senior Football Championship final between Salthill-Knocknacarra and Maigh Cuilinn, and I'm delighted to be joined by former Maigh Cuilinn selector Paddy Moran uh, to get the Maigh Cuilinn perspective on things ahead of the weekend. Uh, Paddy, first off, do you miss not being involved with this Maigh Cuilinn group on a week like this?
Absolutely, Paul. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely missed it. Yeah, it was a great buzz to be involved in them. I was involved in them, first got involved in 2017 there with Paul Clancy and Don. Paul was manager himself and Don came on board, and then involved in 2018 again for half a season. I was kind of in and out then until 2021, and then I wasn't with them in 2020. Obviously, that great run, but I had a great view, but watching it on, working with the boys, and then yeah, I've been involved in 22 and 23. Yeah, great days. Like yeah, really, really, really enjoyed it. Like, and as I said to you previously on previous podcasts, I live in Moycullen now, so I was a staunch Tirgalway man. I still am. But yeah, I'm fully immersed in Waikulla now. I'll be going to the game Saturday as a supporter. Yeah, kind of have to have a bit of bias. I'm a supporter of the team now because I suppose long enough involved and know so many of the lads that yeah, I'd have to be, I suppose, cheering them on Saturday night. But yeah, no, you'd miss it, yeah. Or of course you would, yeah. We had big games in Pure Stadium, like good chance of winning when you're rocked up to most games. Like they were good, yeah. Two years there in a row, you're getting to county finals. Like you won more than you lost. And I suppose the kind of final, and then the All Ireland semi final in 22. It's fantastic. Yeah, we were really really good. Yeah, amazing. Really, to be honest, yeah, great days. And it's only, I suppose, look, I stepped aside, and it's when you step aside that you get perspective on things, Paul. And then you look back at them and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm still look. As I said to you, I'm living locally, like so. We're in the build up, flags out, everything. It's we're fully immersed now. To bring the young lad who's come with me to the odd game. He's in my Cullen jersey on. I think that year in 22, he was born in 22. Good year to be born. So yeah, I think third night I was back training. Red Kelly had the jersey handed over to me. I think after it's he was barely 3 weeks old, he had a my Cullen jersey. So yeah, we're fully immersed, and yeah, you miss it on especially county final weeks. They don't come around too often. No.
I think it's important to remember Don, especially on a week like this, because he really set the standard in my column. I think it's safe to say, and I think he will be remembered. And I presume this group have probably remembered him as well throughout the year, considering everything he did for my column.
Yeah, they would, of course. Like it goes without saying. I mean, he's the reason I was there. I remember one day at work, he Paul took over, and Dom was, uh, on board as selector. Obviously, Paul is his brother-in-law, a good friend of his, and yeah, he wrote me in and he said you might do a bit with us. I was with NUI at the time. I was still playing with Claregalway, and it started from there. And I think the season ended or whatever, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm taking over as manager," and that was it. Then he was up and running, and funny, I was talking. He was just a football fanatic, and he loved football. Absolutely, never switched off from it ever. Never switched off from it. I mean, I find that like I do try and switch off, or you can switch off when you're coaching teams, managing teams, and you have but football was his absolute everything. He was fully immersed in it. His number one hobby outside of family. So he was fully into it, fully bought in, and it was serious. He was a serious driving force behind it. And look, I suppose will the lads be thinking from this week? I suppose they will. Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't they? I mean, it's still very fresh, very raw. His loss will always be felt. But like, I suppose Paul, his legacy is everything that he put in place from the time he got involved in 2017. The standards he set, the players he brought through, and that's again huge work was done in Mike Cullen with the underage through the years. But I mean, Don was able to nurture these guys and bring them through. There's yourself. There's any amount of clubs that win underage stuff and have good underage academies, talent, pool of players or whatever. It's bringing them through to senior level is the thing, and Don was able to do that, and he was able to find even the odd player in that you might think yourself that you'd wonder, geez, what he sees in him, but he was right every time. He was huge, and he managed the team to an unbelievable standard. He really really did. To win two county championships. In my lifetime when I started off playing football, or up until even when I got involved with Maigh Cuilinn, like they'd been to one county final, senior final, against Corofin back in I think it was the 70s, so to win two senior championships and to be in, three finals, it's some going. But look, his legacy will live on lot longer than just his managerial career. It's in so many different areas in and around Michael, and everyone that he touched through football. That was the vehicle that allowed him to kind of get to know you and get to influence you in life. And I know, like, I'd be, even me, I'm going out, I'm separate from I'm going there as a supporter on Saturday night because of John and what he meant to me, meant to bringing me into the fold, giving me a start with NUIG, giving me a start with Maigh Cuilinn, and he was infectious. So I'll be going there as a supporter, cheering on the lads, and I'm 2 years removed from it now. So it's yeah, his legacy will be felt around the village and the town for a lot longer than just his span as manager. It'll live on through the group of players that he brought through, what he did for the lads outside of football as well as everything else. So yeah, he'll always be there. Like, I mean, in 10 years' time, if they're in a county final and if they're, please God, if they're successful Saturday, that teams will still be invoking that kind of spirit, that kind of the standard that he brought in. Really, it's the he really brought the standard of of the club, of everything really to the top level, and that's where it is at the moment. They're one of the top teams now in the county and in the province and nationally as well. So
He's
there's
really he's really kept even continuity from when he was there previously. I know Carl Clancy would have been involved for a number of years, and he was obviously involved in the backroom team. But the way he stepped up and the way Kieran Murphy has stayed there as well.
Oh yeah, well look, it's obviously he wasn't able to continue on due to health reasons, obviously, but like, I mean, he built that squad. It was everything to him. The team, it meant a lot to him. He was so proud of the squad he put together and how they were achieving such great things. And yeah, I mean, Carl stood up there and took over, and Murph, Murph's a great lad. Like, and you can even see it now. Murphy's gone off to he's going to be going to Clare, coaching the Clare senior footballers. Like, so he's coach of the highest standard. Like, so I mean, the continuity was there. Yeah, it's like everything, management put good people in the position and trust them to do their job. And I think when you're with Don, like, he was the main man, he was the manager. He's the final say, and that's always the way in any management team I've ever involved with. The buck stops the manager, but he just allowed people to do what he felt they were best at doing, whatever that was. You bring your strengths to the group, and he allowed you to do that. And if he needed to come in and give you a bit of advice or say, can we do this or change this, he'd do that. And then so yeah, you can see the continuity there, and especially with Murph has been another constant thread there of the coaching, and that's why he's got such a high standard of coaching there as well. The lads are really really firing when he's involved.
As I mentioned there, a county title for Maigh Cuilinn in 20, a county title for Maigh Cuilinn in 22, and then obviously the last two finals in 23 and 24 haven't went their way against Corofin. This
Mm.
is going to be their fifth final at the weekend. Like, it's remarkable consistency, and when you consider they weren't there before 2020, what's got them to this level of consistency, do you feel?
It's a few different things. They won a minor final in 13. Peter Cook would have been playing that. Aidan Claffey. There was a cohort of fellas there that came through in that group. Phil Ezra Galis, I think, was on that group as well. Then you'd Phil Ez and Owen Watcher on the under 21s as well. Sorry, they're under 21s in 2013. So you had kind of a cohort of players that have come through constantly along, and then the likes of Cookie and Sean Kelly with them with the 21s and Desi, So there's just been a good crop of players coming through every couple of years. They've just added and added and added. Really good players coming through, and then it culminated, I think, in Paul took charge in 2017 and kind of started the ball rolling, and then Don picked that up and kept going in 2018. And just momentum, constant momentum of really good players coming through. Like, any best young players in my current are coming through now usually have played minor and 20s, and they're funneling into the senior team. The senior environment then itself, the environment of the group, I suppose. And look, I'm removed from it 2 years, so it's probably changed an awful lot. Like, not an awful lot, but it's probably changed, as in dynamics of it have changed or whatnot. But It's very much player driven as well. Again, the players are given that responsibility, but it's you look into any group, any club team, any serious club team around the country that are successful or winning, they're standard bearers within that dressing room. Like, so I mean, if you're looking at the likes of David Wynn there, for example, he's, 10 years plus playing senior football, played inter-county with Galway. And you know what I mean? He brings an intensity to training, and he does his extras, his gym work, all of that, and it just becomes the standard. He was one of the driving forces along with club officials there in getting the gym built in the clubhouse. So I mean, then it became just standard practice that, like, during COVID and after, when I was involved, the gym is full all the time with young lads coming and going. So then that was just a self-driven thing. So I suppose, to round back to your original, what's made them so successful is a serious environment of play. It's a player-driven environment to a certain degree. Management, are expected to be organised and bring a high level to training, and then outside of that, then the players bring their own standards to it, and that would be that the gym work is taken care of. We never had to sit down and say, be implementing gym programs or bringing S&C coaches and all this kind of thing. It was just a matter of fact that you did it. You know what I mean? You've Paul Kelly there, massive standard driver, Shawnee, Aidan Claffey, David Wynn, Desi Keneally, it can go on and on, Niall Walsh. These guys just do it day in, day out. It's a lifestyle for them. It's their life, as in, it's just training 3 nights a week, you're in the gym 2 days a week, and that's standard. So I suppose when you go, young lads come in, your Charlie Coxes, your Owen Maguire's, your Paul Flaherty's, these guys, when they come in, they just see that, and that's the standard. And if you don't meet the standard, you probably won't get playing. Like, you look at Sean O'Connor, he came in there, he's been an excellent prospect for the club, and he just really bought into it, and you can see that he's bought into every single thing that was there, between gym work, pitch work, everything, and he's thrived, so the next guy that comes in, or some young lad there, Maigh Cuilinn, sees that and goes, right, I want that. But if you really want it, here's the template, you follow it, and you will have success, and you're plugging into a really, really, really good senior outfit, and you'll be shown the right habits along the way. Because if you're being honest about it, Paul, and you can link this back to even like the Corfin team that won, my Cullen teams are successful, the Salthill team that won in the All Ireland 05, like, you either adapt to the standards, or you don't survive. You either adapt, you either come in, you get on board with it, and if you don't, you'll fall away to the wayside. You won't survive in it, like, and that's why that's what I believe anyway. I always maintained it was such a very well player led environment, and on the stuff that had to be nailed, which was your S&C, all of that kind of stuff. The players just really, really drove it on.
Tom Clark and Niall Walsh, then they've obviously come into the club over the last few years. Owen Gallagher was part of the club too, but he went back to Antrim this year. But
Yeah.
Tom Clark and Niall Walsh, there's obviously challenges coming into a new club and Everton at the start, but they've just really seemed to immerse themselves in the Maigh Cuilinn community, and just really seem to adapt, and they've become vital figures over the last few years for Maigh Cuilinn.
Yeah, but they're two really good lads. Two serious two lads who are serious about their football. They're living here in the village. I had the pleasure of working with them, so I probably see them. Geez, I suppose at one stage I was seeing them more than my family between work and football. Yeah, look, Tom came from Knockmore. Niall came from Shannon Gales in Cavan. Played various levels underage for Cavan. You seen there in the last year or two, because he was living in Leitrim. He was in with the Leitrim senior inter-county team. Like, Tom was in around the Mayo senior panel, under 21 panel, minors. So straight away they came in. They're serious about their football, and they could see that, like, they could see there was potential there, and they weren't that far away from the boys. Like, they came in and they had success straight away. Like, Tom is exactly what any team needs. You need that, and I suppose he's a good friend of mine. So you need that dog around the middle. You need that guy who's just going to absolutely empty himself for 60 minutes and really just do the dirty work, the unseen work, like, and that's what Tom does. That's his greatest strength, is he gets down into the ditches and really just drives on and does the dirty work. And it's the thankless work, and he does it really well, and he's a serious cog in the Maigh Cuilinn wheel, really, to be honest with you. And then Niall's just a super footballer. He's really been excellent this year. He's gone on another level again. But he made an instant impact. He was excellent inside with Desi there for 2 or 3 years. They were a very hard duo to stop. Inside they were excellent. But he's centre forward. He's gone on another level at centre forward. I've never seen him move as well. To be honest with you, he was very impressive against Hume. He was excellent against Hume, really, and he's just again more than Tom being a vital cog. Niall is an extremely vital cog as well because, as you know, in the new rules and all that, the transition is the key. And when you have a guy like Niall who can spray a ball 30, 40, 50 yards, but it's also the kind of ball he's giving. He's not just hitting it aimlessly into space. Like it's to the advantage of Faker or Desi inside or Fionn. He's just able to pick that pass, and that's vital because he's not going to give up possession, and he's a good carrier of the ball as well. We would have played him. I think it was it 2021 or 22. I think he played a full league campaign midfield. Don decided to play in midfield for a full league campaign, and he was outstanding, like he really was. So I mean, it didn't phase him playing out the field either. Like further out he can go anywhere. But I mean, they 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 have it in spades. They're two good lads, heads well screwed on. And they bought into it now, and they're flying, and they'll be here, please God, for another few years anyway.
Do you feel anything's changed with Mike Cullen this year then? Obviously, a couple of players aren't part of the panel this year, and that's afforded a couple of players opportunities. Then maybe I'd say, in one sense, maybe the previous years, it probably has helped Mike Cullen that the contingent with Galway hasn't been maybe as big as previous years.
Yeah, it's a funny one when you put like people pointed, the fact there was probably about 10 lads from my Cullen at one stage in the Galway panel, and like it's unbelievable, when you have your club side represented so well in a Galway panel and a Galway panel in 22. Yeah, they got to the All-Ireland final. Like it's amazing. But like the reality is, like there's only two or three lads at any one time, or four lads maybe playing regularly, like, and then you have 6 or 7 lads away, and they're probably not playing. They're playing a lot of football. Don't get me wrong, but they're not playing championship. And then by the time they come back to the club, they can be that bit. They've had a long slog with the county, because even if you're not playing on the first 15 or first 20 lads that are playing, you're still doing a serious volume of training, I suppose, and matches and A versus Bs and traveling, gym, and the whole lot. Like, you can take its toll on that. So, like, I think, yeah, it's having a Cork, having, maybe less in with the county is probably a bit more beneficial, I suppose, because you have, like, you had Paul and Owen Kelly in the league this year, like, massive. It's massive for the club. Like, 'cause I mean, I suppose when there's 10 guys gone, you can't try different things in the league like you probably can with other clubs when you've only maybe two or three in with the county. So it probably did benefit them having less guys in with Galway. It allows you to try. Maybe if you want to try something new in the league, you can try it, new positions or whatever, new style, or you want to do something, you can do it when you have maybe 90% of your squad available, as opposed to maybe only 70%. It's not to the best will in the world. It's not feasible when you've 10 lads in Galway. But sorry, go on,
What
Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what sort of energy are you feeling around Mike Cullen? Because obviously they've lost the last two county finals. Yeah, they're obviously really eager to put that right, and I suppose get the just rewards for three county titles in 5 years, which they probably feel like they deserve. But what's the sort of energy this week like?
Yeah, I think people are, I wouldn't say optimistic. You can't be like, I suppose people are optimistic. I suppose you can be optimistic and not overconfident. I mean, I suppose people are hoping that, most people you meet are hoping that they'll win. You're in a final at the end of the day. Good group of players. People are aware how, it's a good group. And look, I'm sure you've seen the interview with David Wynn during the week there with Desi on when he won't put any point in or anything or hold back. Like, the target is to win it. So the group itself is focused on winning it. That's the target every year for the last 4 or 5 years. So I suppose, yeah, people are probably, I wouldn't say they're optimistic and hopeful that they'll get over the line. I wouldn't say they're overconfident. I'd say they're just, you know, I suppose you can't be overconfident when you've lost the last two. That's the reality. Last two, but at the end of the day, it's a different side from my Cullen that's going out this time as well. So yeah, I think people will be optimistic and be hopeful that they can get over the line. As I suppose supporters are, like, you have to be positive. There's no there's no point going in otherwise. I think people are quietly hopeful that they'll get the job done Sunday or Saturday. Yeah,
Do you feel there's a pressure on them then going in having lost two finals into this one?
put pressure on them. No, because I suppose to touch on what a point that Morris made to you there on the previous podcast, like there'd be huge pressure on them if they hadn't two medals already in the back pocket, if they hadn't already won two. And he hit the nail on the head there because you can see it there. If it was a case that they'd lost the last two to Corofin, and it's like, well, now Corofin are gone, you're playing Salthill, and then it's like, the expectation is there. The reality is they've won two county championships, they lost two to Corofin. You know, in sliding doors moment in either of those games, could they potentially won them? Possibly, I don't know, but they didn't. They came out the wrong side of them, so they lost the two of them. They've won two. So does it put pressure on them? No, only the pressure that they put on themselves, really, and the pressure they put on themselves is to be in the final every year and to give themselves the best chance to win it. So I don't think I think the only pressure that's on them is from themselves, and I don't think that's a kind of a pressure that they're going to suffer from. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be a pressure where they're going to be, we have to win. It's just this is where they expect to be. There's a job to be done. We've done it before, so I think would there be there's potentially more pressure on Salthill, to be honest, because they won their last one in 2012 against Tuam.
Yeah.
So I mean it's 13 years since they've won one, so there's probably more pressure on Salthill, to be honest. Like they've beaten Corofin and the manner in which they played in the first half. And I mean that objectively. That's not me with my Maigh Cuilinn hat trying to put undue pressure on them. But I mean, if you're talking about pressure, I think the pressure's on the team who hasn't won one. There's none of them lads with county medals. Like, whereas I suppose the Maigh Cuilinn lads have won two championships. They've done it. They've gotten to the final and won it. So it's only pressure that's going to come from the group itself and their willingness to kind of to win it, or their want to win it. Really, that's where the pressure will come from. But as regards, no, I don't think there's any undue pressure from the greater Maigh Cuilinn public on them to win it. No, it would be my opinion anyway.
Yeah. Geez, I just forgot as we were talking about Tom Clark and Niall Walsh, Johnny Maloney, of course, as well, who's came into the club there. And
Yeah, yeah.
what an influence he's had in attack, particularly this year.
Yeah, he's excellent. I was actually it was funny. I was at the Tuam game with another colleague of mine, Brian Kane, and Brian played for Naas for till this year. He played with James, but Brian played for Naas against Tullamore in the Leinster Championship, and he said for I think was it a half or 20 minutes or a half an hour they put Johnny in full forward, and he said they could not touch him inside and full forward. He's just I think Johnny's one of those kind of footballers you could play in midfield, centre back, centre forward, full forward, cornerback. It doesn't matter. You're going to get 110%, and he's just going to give you everything. He's a complete competitor. It's because I worked previously with a guy from Tullamore, Paul Buckley. They're entrenched there in Tullamore football, and he was years and years and years telling me about Johnny and going on about him and raving about him. So it was great to finally meet him down here in Maigh Cuilinn. I'd heard so much about him, but yeah, he came as advertised anyway. He's a super bit of stuff. They're very lucky to have him. He's an excellent player. He really is, and never lacks for effort anyway. That's for sure.
When I had yourself and Alan Murphy on previewing the quarterfinals last time out in the podcast, we were talking about Peter Cook, and I don't think anyone knew he was going to be back. It's not the first time he's did this where he's landed back, and particularly under the new rules we could see against Tuam, and particularly that two-pointer was absolutely outrageous. But even when you're involved, and it probably happened with G once or twice where he arrived back and maybe you didn't know, but it's such ability to be able to do that, isn't it?
Such a which, sorry.
It's just such an ability from Peter Cook to be able to just
Oh,
arrive back and
I'm telling you, there's not too many that can do it to arrive into a county semi final, come off the bench with 20 minutes to go, and deliver what he delivered. Like it's I defy anyone to do it. Like anytime you see someone of that caliber coming onto a pitch for 20 minutes and giving a cameo like that in a county semi final, usually they've probably be coming back from some sort of injury. Where they've been probably playing a lot of football or training wise to build themselves up from a place where they've been away for on an injury. But to see someone who you know from what I gather came from abroad to come in with I don't even know how much training he'd done to deliver that, and in key moments again he just delivers in key moments from Maigh Cuilinn. He just has an ability to deliver clutch moments, and with that right foot I don't know. I it's unbelievable. I'd only love to have a fifth of his ability. It's unbelievable how he delivered. When he came on, it's yeah. I don't know how he does it. He's just an exceptional footballer, an exceptional talent, and he's always been known for that. But like, look, I can honestly say too from my time, there isn't too many that work as hard as him. You know, on every facet, be it his left foot, right foot, hand passing. I've seen him up close. Like on days there I'd be off, or you could be down there and he'd be down. This is back now, obviously 2 years ago when I was involved, but he'd be, just he just is a thorough professional in how he prepares himself and his body and gets himself right. So in one respect, it is, it's amazing, but it's not surprising at the same time. But just if he was gone for 3 months, he'd come back and he'd be in great shape. You wouldn't have to worry about him fitness wise, how he is in body composition, anything like that. You don't need to worry about Peter. He's a thorough professional. And he enjoys training. He enjoys training hard and pushing himself. So he'd always be ready to go. It's a testament to him, really. To be honest with you, there's not too many lads could do what he did. Like that's as high as a compliment as I can pay to him. Really, like it's yeah, I haven't seen too many like that now. In fairness.
It's a repeat of the 2022 final, obviously, where Maigh Cuilinn dramatically defeated Salthill by a point. Peter Cook was obviously central that day. What are your own memories of 2022?
My own memories of 2022, relief at the end. With my own memory, just relief. That's the overriding sense. For about 5 minutes of relief, we got over the line and the goal going in, and just relief. Look, that was my first time involved in a county senior final. The lads had done it previously in 2020, so again, it was my first time getting over the line, and just yeah, it was an amazing feeling. Obviously, when you're involved, but like even just being involved and seeing the boys what much it meant to them getting their second one. But from the game itself, I don't remember a whole pile, if I'm being honest with you, because you're just so engrossed in it. Honestly, I wouldn't. I'd normally, if I went there as a spectator, I'd probably be able to tell you everything. But when you're there and you're on the sideline and you're there with a couple of little jobs to be doing during the course of the game, it's yeah. What do I just relief? Just relief was the
Yeah.
only thing I remember from the game. I remember the goal, obviously, and yeah, just getting over the line. I know Matty Thompson came on at one stage, right? That was his introduction. He came on.
He won the free, didn't he?
He did, yeah, and he had a
Yeah.
shot, I think, as well. So they're just dangerous. Like Salthill are a dangerous outfit. Like so, I mean, when you had Matty coming on, we had him with the twenties in as well. He was into the twenties, I think, the year after with us. Yeah, like he's a different animal now. You've seen how much he's improved and developed. He's a different animal now in 2022. But yeah, no, that's just like To be fair, standout moments in the final. That's Owen Kelly was the standout for me. His man marking on Rob Finnerty. That was that, and like Tom. To be fair, Tom Clark did a good job on John Maher again that day. He did it what I call a hard tag on John, and Owen did likewise on Rob, and that was my abiding memory of that. Obviously, the Peters goal, but yeah, they were the two key matchups for us and key battles I remember from it. Like, but look, that's yeah, relief, I suppose. Yeah, that was
That
it's
was
amazing.
that was some journey you went on that year, like all the way to Croker and the All Ireland semi final against Glen. And obviously, players around there aren't thinking that, but you can sort of dream to think of it now. Maybe if you're a supporter for either Maigh Cuilinn or Salthill-Knocknacarra this weekend. But are you surprised? Even I know this is maybe a slight bit off topic, but the All Ireland odds, like Maigh Cuilinn, how they're down at 33-1 and Salthill-Knocknacarra up at 14-1. Are you surprised by that?
No, because I'm not surprised because the reason I'm not surprised is nothing to do with football. It's been some fella in an office who is reading into it and probably not going to too many games. Now, if you put them at 33-1, I'd be surprised. Someone who
Yeah.
goes to games and watches them. Do you know what I mean? Or if you John Mulholland's bookmakers were making them 33-1. I know they're Salt Hill originally, Salt Hill maybe. But no, am I surprised? No, I'm not, because I mean whoever's making that or listing them odds, like how intently and how closely are they watching club football in Galway that they came up with that price of an All Ireland is 33-1. I don't know. Look, they're more qualified and smarter than me, maybe, and they maybe they know something I don't. But I think, yeah, I mean, to lose to Glen in the manner which we did in the Ireland semi final, to yeah, I don't. I think it's a bit of a slight, really, to be honest with you. I think whoever comes out of Galway, Sawtill or Maigh Cuilinn are a fairly short odds to win the Club All Ireland. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
that's the way I look at it.
You're even looking
So
at the draw like this year. It has it's sort of looking like it's going to open up Sligo and Leitrim on the one side. You would have to be fancying Salthill or Maigh Cuilinn, whoever comes out to make a provincial final, and sure, you just don't know then after that.
yeah, look, yeah, I know it's way down the line, and neither team were even thinking remotely about it. But yeah, look, when we got over the line as Tour de Strand in the final, it was extra time against Strokestown in the semi final, and arguably our best game of football was the one before that. We played Westport in Castlebar
Mm.
without Peter. Actually, Peter was sick; he was out with a virus that day, and probably that was one of the best total 60-minute performances I'd ever seen out of Maigh Cuilinn that day. So you just don't know really. But if look, I'm a firm believer that any team that comes out of Galway, by and large, 90% of the time will have some sort of a shout in at least Connacht anyway. And whoever comes out of Connacht usually is a force to be reckoned with in the All Ireland series. So it's not I'm not just biased towards Galway. I just think whoever comes out of Galway has a good chance in Connacht, and whoever comes out of Connacht and beats the Connacht champions or beats the Galway champions usually has a fair say in the All Ireland too. Like a Pierce's or a Bridget's or even Ballina or or Clare. They won it last year. Like I mean, they're the only provincial winners still left in the competition, so they'll fancy themselves as well. I know we're slightly off topic now, but yeah,
Mm.
yeah, so look, I think whoever comes out of it, they'll have a long winter ahead of themselves. Yeah, for sure.
If you're looking at the final and you're maybe thinking who's going to win this, it's obviously a special game considering Salthill-Knocknacarra and Maigh Cuilinn players know each other inside out. They went to college, they went to school together. They know each other very well. But who do you see coming out on top of the weekend?
Who do I see coming out on top? I think John being out as well, it adds to it. So
Mm.
I just think Maigh Cuilinn possibly will have too much around the middle third. I just think they will. Seem to have it, and that's not to say look. Carl Sweeney and Daniel Farty in the half back line there and the half forward line for whichever way they line them up having exceptional seasons. Carl Sweeney really was exceptional against Corofin. He's been exceptional all year. I really rate him extremely highly. He's lucky enough to have him at NUIG for 4 years. Had him with the Go under 20s for 3 years as well. He's an exceptional lad, exceptional player. Same with Fla. With Fla with the minors, with him with the 20s as well. And we had him with NUI. So look, we have a good insight to them. And as you pointed out there, like if you're from Maigh Cuilinn and Salthill, there's a good chance you could have, you'd have gone to, you could have done 5 years in the Bish or Endas or Mary's together. And if you're really good at the football, you probably played, minor under 20 in college together as well. So they know each other inside out. And of course, there's going to be a rivalry. I mean, the 2018 they played in the minor A final out in Loch George, I think under lights, and it was an unbelievable game of football. It was the Westport final before the county final. So I mean, the last 10 years, especially, I'd say there's always been, they'll always when they play each other, there's always going to be that rivalry because they close proximity. A lot of lads when I was growing up, when they're from Maigh Cuilinn, if they're good at soccer, they played at Salthill Devon. So so there's just that cross pollination across all different sports around Galway that Maigh Cuilinn and Salthill they know each other inside out, and I'm sure like it's going to be hotly contested. But yeah, I just think Maigh Cuilinn will have enough around the middle. I just think with John Maher being out, especially, I think he's one of the best players in the country. Let's call a spade a spade. He was nominated for Footballer of the Year, All Star. Say so and he's in the engine room as well. And John's been exceptional for the last number of years for Salthill. He really is. He's a serious club man and a serious man to drive on his club team. I've been watching him since under 16 and minor, and he's a real driving force from midfield. So I just think Maigh Cuilinn will edge it at midfield really, and that'll give them the platform to drive on.
Do you think this third county title in Maigh Cuilinn for 5 years would be a just reward for the efforts since 2020?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think yeah, it does. But like by the same token, if Salthill win it, then is it just reward for everything they've done in the last 2 or 3 years to get everything together? It is. I think if you win it on the day, you're good enough, and you win it, and you can't have any complaints. If you're beaten, you can complain, but ultimately, it's of no use. But yeah, I haven't seen firsthand. Again, I was only a small cog in the wheel of what was going on here, and very proud of that role, but and very proud to be a part of the group and obviously living in the parish. But like to see the effort going in and the work being done by the players, the management, everything. Yeah, I think it'd be great for them as a. I suppose as a blow, I know what I can say. Yeah, I'd be delighted for them. And they do deserve it. Yeah, of course they deserve it. But look, I'm long enough around now, Paul. To not be getting what I deserve, especially in football, you don't get what you deserve in sport, unfortunately. So they'll earn it. Anything they get on Saturday night, they'll earn it. And they earned it in the two previous finals as well. But it would be, yeah. I think it'd be fitting reward for a lot of them guys, yeah, that have sold it for the last number of years for sure.
Great stuff, Paddy. Well, thanks a million for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Cheers.